Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Benchmade Precipice. This is a knife that has been discontinued, but it's still for sale, and you can go out and find it. Sometimes it's for sale, meaning there's a sale price, and sometimes it is at a normal price. But either way, it's still available in many areas if you choose to get one. So first of all, this is a Benchmade. It is, I believe it's from the HK. So Benchmade, I think for a while was producing HK's knives, and so I think this is one of the HK designs that was being produced by Benchmade. If you guys know differently in the comments, just drop a line, let me know, but I think that's the case. In any event, let's go ahead and take some size comparisons first. I actually got rid of a lot of my OTFs. I'll be reacquiring some in the near future, but for now I have the Benchmade Infidel as a size comparison. And this is the Benchmade Precipice next to the Infidel. So you can see the Precipice has they both have the stagger blade. The Benchmade Infidel is double-edged. The Benchmade Precipice is actually a single-edged dagger blade. And the obvious differences right off the bat are going to be this is a side fire, or this is a side fire, I should say. This is a spine fire. So you got a couple of those differences there. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple other size comparisons. So actually, let me pull this out. This is the Benchmade turret. This is the Benchmade Griptilian. As you can see, it's not too different of a size than the Griptilian. Maybe a little bit longer in the handle, but the blade is very similar. You got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Again, similar size to the Paramilitary 2. And here's the Para 3. So this is actually a good EDC size blade for an OTF. And I don't have any of the Microtechs or the Heretics that I used to have on the channel. But again, I'll be reacquiring some of those in the near future. That's the plan anyway. So I think that about does it for my size comparisons. Let's go ahead and talk about the good and the bad of this. So first of all, like I said, great EDC size and really nice action on this, in and out. It really feels good. It fires hard, not quite as hard as the Microtech Ultratech, but it does fire pretty hard and is pretty easy to actuate. The fact that it is easy to actuate, goes along with a lot of the other Benchmades. I have noted in prior videos that the Benchmade Infidel is much easier to actuate the button up and down than a lot of Microtechs and Heretics. I did a comparison video not too long ago. It's getting to be a little longer ago with the Infidel, the Heretic Manticore X, and the Microtech Ultratech. The Ultratech by far had the most stiff button. The Heretic Manticore X was sort of in between. The Infidel was the easiest to actuate, the least stiff. So the Precipice is also not very stiff. One thing I will tell you is the Infidel is smooth all the way through, whereas when you get to the firing point, it's smooth up here on the Precipice, but when you get to the firing point, it feels like you're pulling a trigger, and I actually kind of like that feeling. It feels nice on the Infidel when you sort of fire it in and out when it's smooth, but feeling something, it gives you sort of a sense of satisfaction. Feeling something like like a trigger is being pulled and you're causing that action to occur, there's a somewhat gratifying or satisfying, feeling that comes along with it. So that's definitely part of the good and part of the fun of flicking this particular OTF in and out. And another thing I'll say is I actually pretty well enjoy the ergonomics of this. This is one of the better ergonomically inclined OTFs I've felt in a long time, on the handle at least. You have a decent choil here. It actually has jimping on the choil, on the aluminum body. By the way, this is 6061 T6 aluminum, so pretty decent materials here. It's got the aluminum body here and the jimping right there on the spine on both the fore and aft, if you will, portions of the handle. And then you've also got some jimping back here as well on this side. but not up top because you have the button. So I think that actually works pretty well on here. The recess in here feels nice to hold when there's no button there, and when the button fires, the button itself, feels decent here. I will say, as far as the ergonomics are concerned, I would have preferred more of a ramp here. I think it would have made the overall ergonomics better, because my hand wants to be a little higher up on here, which means that, if I'm higher up, my thumb wants to be here, which is over the ramp, whereas if I'm a little further back, my hand wants to be on the ramp, which also acts as a guard if you're doing a jabbing motion. So I really think that, although the ergonomics are great on here, there was a little bit room for improvement on the ergonomics of the actuator button. Okay, the construction itself feels pretty solid. I will say the Benchmade Infidel does feel much more solid. The Ultratech and the Ultratech also felt more solid. As far as the Heretic Manticore X, so if you recall, I mentioned that the well, I'll get to that in a little bit, because this is going to be more on the bad side when I get to that point. The clip here is great. It's Benchmade's deep carry pocket clip. I really, really love Benchmade's deep carry pocket clip. They have one of the best in the business as far as their deep carry pocket clips. It could have been set a little higher. As you can see, some of this sticks out, but other than that, I think it's okay. Overall, they chose a great steel for this blade, which obviously came out a little bit before a lot of the recent super steels, but it's got S30V on it, which is a great steel. Even the Infidel comes normally in a D2 standard, which you can see here. So I think the choice of S30V on this is a great choice. The edge on it is pretty nice. However, because it's dagger ground, even though it's only one-sided, and you can see that this is not a sharpened edge here. Could you sharpen it? Probably you could. You'd have to worry about the fact that, it's not quite even over here. It might look a little odd, but you could probably sharpen that if you wanted to. But the edge on it is pretty good. What you would have to worry about is the fact that, I don't know if you can see this, but it sort of arcs up on both sides like this. And then on the bottom side is sort of a V. So if you're looking at, the blade going this way, you have a V on the top and a V on the bottom, which means that when you cut, you're separating here to a point in the middle, and then it's sloping back downward. It's not the most ideal, type of blade to have for EDC. But it does work, and it is, kind of a nice OTF to actuate back and forth and carry with you. It's quite light as well, definitely a plus. So, like I said, on the bad side, we do have that, the fact that we have that blade shaped as a V. I probably should have included that on the bad side. Sorry, guys. But that's one of the things. The blade is also really thin. I would not want to use this in any, lateral force type of thing. The blade, I would be afraid that the blade would snap, although it sort of is reinforced in the center. But it does feel a little thin in that regard, especially for how big the handle is here. So that's definitely a concern. As with any OTF, you're going to have issues with knife laws, so obviously, guys, check your local knife laws. But this is a double action and a dagger ground blade, which may draw, even if it's not sharpened on one side, an unfriendly cop in a jurisdiction that doesn't allow daggers may give you a problem, even if OTFs are legal. So just be aware of your local knife laws, and if you choose to EDC or even carry something like this. Another thing that I will say that I wish they could have improved on is the texture on the body. So anyone who knows Benchmade, or has owned a Benchmade knows, from knows that texture on the aluminum that they have. It's like sort of a chalky texture you can get on the 940s. This is a 943, and the aluminum bodies have that sort of chalky aluminum texture. The Benchmade Infidel has that as well, although it's a little bit more chalky. It's about the same as the 940, but maybe a little bit more chalky. This feels about 3 times as chalky. I don't know why. I don't know if they treated it differently. It is aluminum just like the other stuff. It is, it's the same type of aluminum. It is it's made by Benchmade. I don't know why it feels so different, but it does feel different. And as a result, as much as you worry about scratches on normal aluminum, this one I would worry about scratches even more. So if you're planning on getting one of these, be aware that it may get scratched up. That being said, if you have an OTF, and I had this problem, I was worried when I originally had that red Manticore X that it would get scratched up. Frankly, OTFs are one thing that, use, abuse, enjoy. Don't worry about those getting scratched up. Just go ahead and use them. But it will show wear, and it sort of is already, even though it hasn't been used. I will say I went ahead and cut a couple of things so I could do this review, but I haven't extensively used it because this is a giveaway knife, and I didn't want to, send it to someone in a less than ideal condition. So just be aware of that. Take that with a grain of salt, or take the review with a grain of salt, because it hasn't been extensively used, but be aware that I have used it enough to know a little bit what I'm talking about. So I think that's pretty much it for the good and the bad. Here, actually, one more thing, one more bad thing. This is what I was going to talk about with the Manticore X. Is the Manticore X had like a tinny sound. Like when the Infidel shot out, it feels solid all the way around. When the Ultratech shoots out, it feels solid all the way around. The Manticore X had this like tinny sound that you could hear as you were actuating it, and you could feel it also a little bit in the vibration of the body. You definitely get some of that tinny stuff here. I'm gonna put this near the microphone. I'm not sure if you'll hear it. So I don't know if you guys could hear that, but there is a tinny sound there, and you also feel a little bit of that tinny vibration. It doesn't feel cheap, but it doesn't give you that solid feeling that you get from an Ultratech or an Infidel, that you're not, that you've gotten your money's worth on that report, in that regard. The other thing I'll say on the negatives is the price on this. The price on this right now, it's discontinued. I think it's listed on Blade HQ for like $323. It's not what I would pay for it. I will tell you that right now. I'd be looking on the secondary market. You could probably find these on the secondary market around $200, and that is probably the most I pay for it. But $323 is overpriced. I will say also in that regard, with the Infidel, I actually really do like the Infidel. The Infidel gets a lot of crap from a lot of people, but I really like the Infidel. However, they're like 400, and change new, almost 450 new, and I think they're like 433 new, and they go on the secondary market for like 250 to 300. So if you're going to buy one of these, the Infidels, look on the secondary market. If you're going to buy one of these, the Precipice, look on the secondary market. I do not recommend you buying either one of these brand new. That's my little disclaimer on that. Thank you guys so much. Go ahead and hit the like button if you found this video useful. Hit the subscription button and hit the notification bell so you get all my content. And go ahead and drop a comment in the description. Let me know if you've had any experience with this knife or any of the other HK knives that Benchmade produce at any point, or any of the Benchmade OTFs as well. Thanks so much.